Lost in the World here, and welcome to the first of many Outriders build guides. These guides are made to help players who look at this and think, nope, and instead make them think, hell yes. We want these guides to give players a chance to enjoy the power fantasy of Outriders in a variety of really powerful but fun builds. So what is more fun than being the unsung hero of every team-based game ever? The support. I love playing support, as quite frankly I know, even if nobody else does, that I am the rock solid foundations of the team. So welcome to my first Outriders build guide for the Ice Cold Healer. So let's talk key aims and goals of this build, as that will form the foundations of the choices we're going to make on the skill tree. So key aim number 1, with the Technomancer being the only class to have access to a team heal, we are focusing on making sure we are always alive and on the field to heal our team when we need it. Key aim number 2, allow our damage dealer to deal as much damage as safely as possible by making sure everything within a 200-mile radius is frozen in place. Key aim number 3, whenever the enemy is not frozen and vulnerable to more damage, they have a toxic dot applied to them and are vulnerable from that instead. TLDR, make sure nobody dies, make sure everything else dies quicker. Okay, so let's break down the skill tree. I won't go too much into skill mods here, but the main one you do definitely need is no pain, no gain. Basically, whenever your blighted round ends, you heal your team for 40% of the damage done, split equally among your team members. This is just a brilliant fill-in heal while your actual healing skill is down. There is also a skill that allows you to decrease the cooldown of your healing by 20%, and I highly recommend you use that as well. Other than that, you do have a nice bit of flexibility on which mods you wish to use, depending on the slight variances you wish to have in your own personal playstyle. Okay, so let's look at the skill tree then and talk about our first few choices. First of all, I want you to ignore this upgrade here, because this is the last upgrade we're actually going to do, even though it's at the beginning. We're going to go straight down the middle path, and it's important to go for the health upgrades because your healing is based on your own max health. Second minor upgrade, I like to call these small ones minor and these big ones major. Second minor and third minor upgrade are skill cooldowns on your gadget skill, which will be your healing skill, as well as more health, again, giving you more healing. First major one is a really nice one, and that's called Exposing Toxin. What this does is it allows your toxic, which is your blighted rounds, to apply vulnerable, which makes the enemies more susceptible to damage. The next node over increases the effectiveness of that vulnerability by 40%, a massive buff, and gives your whole team bonus damage. This further feeds into the support role that you're going to be having. Moving to the next minor, we have bonus 10% damage against frozen. To be honest, on this one here, you could basically choose either or. If you're dying a bit more, take the 20% armor. If you want to do a bit more damage yourself with your weapons, do 10% damage against frozen. This actually comes in handy with the last selection you make on the build. We'll go into that more in a minute. Next one again is 10% bonus health, followed by more skill cooldown on your healing and on your turret, and finally more health. Now here we have two major selections that are really big build definers. We have freeze applies vulnerable. Again, when your freeze is off cooldown, you can apply toxic to apply vulnerable. When your freeze is on cooldown, you can apply freeze and you're good to go. Followed by, again, 40% more vulnerable effectiveness. The next minor choice is 20% freeze duration, again tying in with the bonus freeze and the vulnerable and the bonus effectiveness of vulnerable with increased turret health. Now turrets do attract a lot of aggro from enemies and they will die a lot, and they do have a health going down over time. Increased bonus health means your turrets are on the field for longer, which is more healing and more crowd control through your freeze. Going back to the minors, we have weapon leech, which we have to take, as well as 20% bonus armor, which we have to take. The next major is activating gadget skill increases all healing received from your allies and for yourself by 30% for 7 seconds, and it's called medical unit. Clearly, when looking back at the skills we've got here, this is a must pick and doubles down on the amount of healing that you can provide your team, not only from your healing skill, but also from blighted rounds and the mod we mentioned earlier in the video. Moving forward, we have increase all healing done by you and your allies by 20%, Doctor of Medicine. Again, tying in with this is a passive increase. On top of that, after you use a gadget skill, such as let's say your freeze turret, your healing will increase by 30%, followed by 30% damage against frozen, which goes nicely with the last one, which is a bonus damage of 40% for weapon damage and anomaly power. After using a gadget skill, you have two of them, so basically you're always going to have 40% bonus damage. Now the extra bonus here is, upon losing health, you will receive a second chance to return to the battlefield with 50% maximum health for 10 seconds. And this has a 3-minute cooldown. It's a pretty short cooldown really, all things considered. And as a healer, this just means that you are going to be on the field all the time time, and even if you do mess up, you do have a get out of jail free card. Finally, we'll take Anomaly Power, and that's just so your blighted rounds do a little bit more damage to give a little bit more healing. That's really the best choice left out of the bunch at this stage. So you can tell by going through the skill tree like this that up to the last skill point that you invest in the final major perk, which gives you the 40% weapon damage, you're going to be playing quite a hard support build, but that final perk gives you a massive power spike in your own damage, therefore really bringing the build full circle from full support into support and damage dealer. But the overall play of this build looks as follows. You enter into a fight, you throw down your cryo turret, the cryo turret freezes everything and giving you bonus damage via vulnerable. Your team hopefully kills everything. If they don't, you will be able to either freeze again through your melee or hit blighted rounds and ensure your team has healing through the next fight or the next phase of the fight. If the team therefore starts losing health and the enemies get closer or they're getting hit from afar, you can pop your own heal, by which point your cryo turret should be off cooldown and you should be able to throw another cryo turret out, or again shooting enemies and healing with blighted rounds. But this build allows you to freeze enemies in place, give your team a huge damage buff, and heal your whole team out of any sticky situations they find themselves in. I will 100% be running this build as my second character for endgame content because a dead DPS ain't doing any DPS. I would recommend not ruling out a small variance you could have on this build, and that is replacing the cryo turret with Cold Snap, which is a gadget which drops a freezing bomb at your feet. This could be really handy in the right situations, especially when you're in areas where faster moving enemies close the gap on you very quickly. That doesn't really change anything regarding the build really, other than switching out the Senior Engineer perk that gives you 100% bonus health for your turret, and maybe switching out for a bit of bonus damage and reduction in gadget cooldown. But that has been the build really. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope it helps you starting off as a Technomancer in Outriders. And good luck with your builds. If you've got any better ideas or any builds of your own that you're thinking of making, why don't you drop a comment below and let me know. And otherwise leave a like as it helps us out with the algorithm. Thank you.